Welcome back. We are joined today by Scott Ritter, a former UN weapons inspector, a U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, and also an author. So thank you for coming on. Trump has called Putin. They had this conversation, I assume, about ending the Iran war and also the Ukraine war, although I suspect the emphasis was on the former. The Russians refer to this call as frank. They did not use the word friendly. So I was wondering, what do you read into all of this? What do you suspect they discussed?
Well, a lot of speculation thrown into that one. I think we do know that it was Trump who initiated this call. So this is an American initiated call. Um, we also know that Russia has, to the dismay of some, surprise of others, kept the door open for diplomacy with the United States, despite the United States being um, less than a perfect diplomatic partner. In particular, they've they've kept the invitation out for Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to continue to participate and even take a lead on diplomacy. And again, given their track record with Iran, one would think that that would have been a disqualifying factor. But the reason why I bring this up is that um, Russia's not doing anything precipitously to close down the diplomatic door. And you have to ask yourself, why would they? I mean, there are some purists out there. I count myself amongst them who, um, in times of passion, sometimes forget that there is an art of diplomacy. And since war is an extension of politics by other means, diplomacy is sometimes the more sound path to take than, you know, confrontation. Um, but we're dealing with this time when Russia, when Vladimir Putin was an assassination attempt was against his life, using 91 drones targeted by CIA intelligence while the president was engaged in a conversation. That was December 28th. Um, Great Britain has attacked Vodkinsk using a British-made Flamingo missile. Um, using Ukraine as a proxy, but it was built and targeted by Great Britain. And now 7 Storm Shadow missiles have hit a strategic industrial facility in the city of Bryansk. Normally these are red lines, and yet the Russians leave the door of diplomacy open. And the question is why? And I think the answer is that Russia's playing a very strategic game on multiple fronts, and that they've avoided successfully falling into the military trap. To give you an example, why would you respond to? Because logic dictates, and Sergei Karaganov has articulated this, that if England strikes Russia, Russia strikes England. And we know that there's a facility in a British town in the UK that produces Storm Shadows, and it has literally become a legally justifiable target. Russia would have every right under international law to put an Oreshnik on that facility and cease its existence. Same thing with Flamingo. We know Flamingo is a British design. The British all but admitted it when they unveiled it at their Abu Dhabi Arms Expo under the flag of a British company. Russia would have every right to take out that headquarters and any facilities associated with it. So why haven't they? Keir Starmer is in the process of political freefall. If you attack the UK, you've suddenly made Keir Starmer a wartime leader, and you create the potential of his political revival. Russia has taken 7 Storm Shadows in a Flamingo. Some damage has been done, but the strategic picture is collapsing the British government, which Russia only has to wait and do nothing. So sometimes military action isn't the wisest thing. With the United States, one of Russia's strategic goals and objectives is the lifting of economic sanctions. And here, by doing nothing, Russia had all the oil sanctions lifted. I mean, I'm not an economist, but I could imagine that if you were selling Euro grade crude at $23 a barrel discounted, and you're now able to sell it at $80 on the open market, that $53 barrel profit is that helps balance a budget, helps pay for a war, It helps any number of things, cash shortages, the whole thing. This is good. And Russia didn't have to do anything except keep the door of diplomacy open to pick up a phone call, answer the phone call, and have a frank discussion. I think the Russians had a very frank discussion about world energy. The president has become suddenly very well informed about the potential of Russia to deliver oil and gas into a market that now faces a critical shortage because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Um, the president has been educated about you know what will happen to the American economy if a balance isn't found in the energy supply market globally. Um, Russia doesn't need to tell the president about the political consequences of a failed economy. The president understands that. So I think the Russians have kept the door open because it plays to their advantage. Um, a Russian overreaction, for instance, assassinating Zelensky, which would be a very crowd-pleasing thing to do in Russia. The man is a dog. He's a criminal. He's a Nazi. He's committed horrific crimes. He's now attacking, Russian civilians, and has been. Uh, it would be a very pleasing thing to do, but strategically, your job is to remove Ukraine from